Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the college football playoff semifinal matchup between the Michigan Wolverines and the TCU Horned Frogs. Both teams have had outstanding seasons getting to this point. Both teams with very different journeys along the way. You got Michigan, who just won the Big Ten for the second straight season, and this team returns to the college football playoff this year as a stronger team, as a better team, and they got an even better chance to win the entire thing. But first, they got to take on TCU, the big surprise team of the 2022 season. Who would have imagined back in the summer that we'd see TCU in the college football playoff as the 3 seed? But here we are. TCU is a very real team. This team, they've had an outstanding season, gotten up to 12-1. Max Duggan has led this team to just an outstanding season, and here they are. They got a chance to take on Michigan, and if they beat Michigan, they're in the national title game. So a lot on the line here for both these teams. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Michigan beat Purdue in the Big Ten title game 43-22. A dominant win for Michigan there to win their second straight Big Ten title. I mean, back in 2020, if you remember a couple of years ago, people were calling for Jim Harbaugh to be fired because he wasn't having the success that many Michigan fans were wanting. But fast forward 2 years, here we are. Michigan has won 2 Big Ten titles, second straight college football playoff appearance, and this is a huge opportunity for the Wolverines here. This is a talented team, both sides of the ball. They're 13-0, and I mean, they're 13-0 for a reason. This is a very good football team. But TCU on the other side lost to Kansas State, took their first loss of the season in the Big 12 title game. They lost to them in overtime, 28-31. Obviously a brutal loss. You want to win that game, especially after how great of a regular season you had. Went 12-0, was undefeated heading into that matchup. Didn't happen in the end, but at least you still have a chance for something even greater, a national title. Games be on Saturday, December 31st, New Year's Eve in Glendale, Arizona. Your kickoff is 4 p.m. Eastern. Spread's going with Michigan by 7.5. So the Wolverines are favored by just over a touchdown here. Over-under is 58.5, and the FPI is going with Michigan 66%. This is also the first matchup between Michigan and TCU in both teams' histories. Stat comparison for this one: Michigan, obviously a solid team on both sides of the ball. They're 5th in points per game, 3rd in points allowed. This defense in particular has really shown up at the most crucial times this season. I mean, you look at that Ohio State game. I mean, they allowed 23 points to the Buckeyes, one of the best offenses. You could argue the best offense in the country in Ohio State. And Michigan really showed up, and this defense has been great throughout this season, without a doubt. And offensively, this team has been as well. I mean, they're not a very strong team in the passing game, you could say. They're 87th in the country in pass yards a game. But this team's backfield is, it's outstanding to say the least. Blake Corum was the lead rusher for this team this season, nearly 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he is injured, so he is out for this game. But then you got Donovan Edwards back there as well, who has taken over the past couple of games. He was the primary back against Ohio State, primary back against Purdue, and he has done just fine. He rushed for 216 yards against Ohio State, rushed for nearly 200 against Purdue. I mean, Donovan Edwards he's performing just as well as Blake Corum did the majority of the season. So I'm not concerned one bit about Blake Corum being out, but obviously he is, a major part of this offense either way. But defensively, this team really good in both the passing defense and the rushing defense. They got the second best rush defense in the country statistically, but their pass defense has also been great. I mean, if you're looking at, they're only allowing an average of 85 rush yards a game, which is outstanding. And you're going up against a TCU team that is really strong in the backfield. You got Kendre Miller, who's had an outstanding season, over 1,300 yards and 17 touchdowns on the season. And that's going to be a huge thing for Michigan, is containing Kendre Miller. If you can do that, the Wolverines can do that. I like their chances in this game, but Kendre Miller is a massive part of this offense. And I'll say this about TCU as well. Max Duggan, he is a quarterback that has come around. It's pretty amazing seeing his career over the years. I mean, look back to Max Duggan when he was just getting started. He was a young quarterback with TCU. He was arguably the worst starting quarterback in the Power 5 his first season in 2019. I mean, his stats were just terrible. He was inaccurate. He turned over the ball way too much, made terrible decisions. I mean, you look at 2020 and 2021, you could see some steady improvement, but then you get 2022. It's just incredible what Max Duggan has done. You got to give him so much credit for how much he's improved. I mean, he's thrown for 3,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, over 4 picks. That's an outstanding touchdown interception ratio, and His completion percentage this season is right around 65%, which is 12% higher than it was back in 2019 when he was a full-time starter. So Max Duggan, there's a reason why he was a finalist for the Heisman this season. And I mean, it's pretty amazing seeing what he has done. And yeah, you got to give him so much credit for that. But you got Johnston, the top receiver for TCU, who's had a great season as well, nearly 1,000 yards of receiving. Ronnie Bell, the top receiver on Michigan, has put up right around 750. But for TCU defensively, that is the main concern that I have with TCU in the college football playoff is you're going up against some really good offenses here. I mean, you got Michigan, who's really been great, especially in the backfield. I mean, Georgia's a really talented team, especially on defense. I mean, both Georgia and Michigan are great on offense, but I think Georgia and Michigan are both known for their great defenses. I mean, I think Ohio State and TCU are both known for their great offenses on the other side. And so, I mean, for TCU defensively, you're gonna have to really play well defensively in the college football playoff if you want a chance, and in this game as well, in particular, if you want any chance of winning the national title. But yeah, they're 82nd in pass yards allowed, 67th in rush yards allowed. So nothing that really stands out there. But once again, offensively is really where this team shines. Recent matches: Michigan beat Purdue in the Big Ten title game 43-22. Beat Ohio State 45-23. Still can't exclaim how big of a game that was for Michigan. And obviously the outstanding performance, especially in the second half. I mean, this Michigan team has proven to be a second-half team. We've seen that time and time again this season. You look at Ohio State game, that Rutgers game. I remember that was somewhat close at first, but the second half they just ran them. 52-17, they won that one. Beat Illinois 19-17. That game was pretty close. I think Illinois to this day, honestly. I mean, I know Purdue won the division, but Illinois, there's just something that tells me that they were the best team in the Big Ten West in the end. But still, for Michigan, got the win. Beat Nebraska as well, 34-3. As for TCU, they lost to K-State, the one loss of the season for the Horned Frogs, 20-31 in overtime. Beat Iowa State 62-14. Beat Baylor 29-28. Almost took a loss there. That was an incredible finish in Waco. They beat Texas on the road 17-10. That was really when I started to take TCU seriously. I wasn't for sure whether or not this team was for real, and I knew that Texas game was going to be a huge one. Texas was looking really good at the time, and going on the road, night game, pressure's on later parts of the season, but TCU got it done. And they also beat Texas Tech 34-24. And that Texas game as well would have been one thing if it was a higher scoring game, because we know that TCU is a strong offensive team, but defensively, they won that game. I mean, it was 17-10 offense. The offensive side of the ball only got 17 points. So, I mean, we've seen this defense, it's shown potential. I mean, the offense has been what has really shined for TCU this season, but defensively, we've seen some impressive and promising performances as well. Key points for this one: Michigan 13-0. Wolverines have proven to be a brutal team, and this team could very well win the national title. I mean, last year I kind of figured they were going to lose in the semifinal to Georgia. It was just Georgia's year, but I mean, if you look at this season, I mean, Michigan, I feel like this is a team that very well, if they faced off against Georgia in the national title game this season, which is very much a possibility, I think Wolverines have got a good chance to win it. I might honestly pick Michigan just because, I mean, this team, they got the experience. They've been in this position now, and they know what the stage is like. And they've been great despite losing Blake Corum, who has been such a big impact player on this team all season. And this is a chance for them to finish what they started last season. As for TCU, 12-1, the major surprise team of the 2022 season. This was kind of similar to the 2021 season with the amount of surprise teams that we saw in 2021, but 2022 in particular, I mean, TCU just came out of nowhere. I mean, most projections this past offseason had TCU right around 6-7 wins, and here we are. This team is 12-1 and the 3 seed in the college football playoff. Definitely one of the more surprising teams that we've seen be a big national contender in recent years. Max Duggan's improvement, yeah, it's incredible to say the least, and defensively, this team is going to need to force turnovers and really have a strong game. I mean, for Michigan going up against this TCU defense, there's a good possibility that Michigan's able to score upwards of 30 points in this game. So for TCU, if you can hold them, force a couple turnovers, maybe keep Michigan below 20 points, I think TCU's got a chance genuinely to win this game. But that said, let's get to the prediction here for Michigan and TCU coming up here in the college football playoff semifinal, the Fiesta Bowl. and I'm going to take Michigan to win this game. 34-20 is my predicted final score. I've actually got Michigan winning this game by a couple of touchdowns, and I've talked about how great of a team TCU is. I really believe that they are a great team, but Michigan, this team is experienced. They've been to this stage before. Last season they were, and I feel like this year around, this is Michigan's year, and they're playing their best football this season right now. We saw they played against Ohio State. I want to bring that up. That Ohio State game, a very high-pressure situation. That was a crucial game, obviously, for both Michigan and Ohio State. And the way the Wolverines played in that fourth quarter and the second half of that game, they know how to handle pressure now. And going into the college football playoff against TCU, I think Michigan is able to win this game. They're going to get off to a fast start, I think, get a couple of touchdowns on the board early, and they're just going to they're going to control the game from there. I think TCU hangs in there. I don't expect this to be a big blowout, but I think Michigan wins this game by a couple of touchdowns. I'm going to say Michigan still only 55% just because TCU, do not sleep on them. The Horned Frogs could very well win this game, and they're going to have that underdog mentality in this matchup. But over-under is 50.5. I'm going to be taking the under for this one in Michigan to cover the spread in the end. But yeah, this one, I mean, this is going to be nothing short of an outstanding matchup here. Two outstanding teams, and the winner of this game to the national title, I've got Michigan being that team. Let me know your thoughts and comments below on this college football playoff semifinal matchup. Let me know who you think is going to win in the comments below, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.